All right, I think we're gonna go ahead and get started here. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Again, if you're having issues, if you send a note to the panelists in the chat window, we will try to address your issue and make sure you're okay or set up and can hear us okay. Well, listen, we're really excited to have talk about an interesting topic today. 6 secrets to seasonal merchandise. My name is merchandise planning. My name is Brett Cunningham. I'm an SVP with Softvision, and we'll go ahead and jump in. Just to kind of give you a sense for the conversation today, I'd expect it to take about 45 to 50 minutes. We'll have brief introductions. I'll give you a little bit of guidance and instructions on how we're going to manage Q&A through the conversation, through the webinar. Give you a brief introduction to Softvision, and I'm going to turn it over to one of our expert panelists, Jeff Dillon, to talk about the 6 secrets to merchandise planning. And I'm really excited to have a guest panelist from Duluth Trading as well, who will introduce here in a moment. We'll have kind of a Q&A and conversation with her about some of the best practices they've implemented and the success they've had in using some of these practices that we'll talk about. Just a brief introduction. As I said, my name is Brett Cunningham. I'm the SVP of Digital here at Softvision, run our marketing organization. I'll turn it, we're really excited to have our guest, Ricci Shatto from Duluth Trading. Many of you may know Duluth through their fun commercials about the comfort of their undergarments. They've seen tremendous growth over the past few years. And so Ricci will talk a little bit about how she and her team have been able to support that growth using some of these best practices we'll talk about. So Ricci, why don't I turn it over to introduce yourself, and then we'll let Jeff do the same.
Okay, I'm Ricci. I am the Senior Inventory Manager at Duluth Trading Company, managing men's and hard goods. I've been here for 6 years. Prior to that, I was at Land's End, and then most of my experience actually came from Famous Footwear for many, many years. So I've been doing this for probably longer than I want to admit. So Jeff?
Thank you, Ricci. I really appreciate you being with us. My name is Jeff Dillon. I'm Senior Customer Success Consultant with Softvision. I help the other customer success consultants support our customers through implementations, training, best practices, consulting. I've been in supply chain my entire career, retail, manufacturing, product development, and look forward to this session.
Just a couple of items, housekeeping, just to kind of set expectations and give you guidance as we go through the conversation. We are recording this session. A couple of the attendees have already asked that in our chat window. So we'll be making this available to you, the audience, and give you the ability to share internally your organizations once it's done. With regards to questions, you should see an interface in Zoom in the webinar tool where you can ask questions. We'd love to take those, ask those kind of throughout the conversation. If you can give us a little bit of guidance on who you want to direct the question towards, that would be great. And we will have a few minutes, 10 to 15 minutes at the end to walk through those questions. And then certainly we'll be available and give you contact information for how you can follow up and have direct conversations after the webinar. All right, so just a brief introduction to Softvision. As you can see here, Softvision is a digital transformation partner, really creating game-changing products and digital experiences for retailers. We have a deep experience, 20+ years working with retailers, and we really think about our business in 2 broad categories, as you can see here. The first is the services business, where we partner with our clients to really define and design digital experiences to drive their business forward. That means experiences and software targeted towards the shopper or the consumer, and it means enterprise tools in the hands of associates in the stores and to help them manage their day-to-day activities, inventory, fulfillment, etc. And we have teams that really partner with our clients on a detailed basis in a full agile delivery methodology with a unique, what we think is a real unique maturity measurement model to define and deliver success. And then really the topic of the conversation today on the product side of our business, we have a great suite of merchandise assortment planning tools that really help our clients like Duluth forecast demand, manage inventory modeling and replenishment, and reporting and analysis to really get in and see how your business is doing, forecast the future, and use that in order to really optimize, planning and around the seasonal process, as we'll talk about a little bit today. A little bit broader about Softvision and the company. We have about 2,500 folks globally. We call those global offices studios. And each of those studios really house our key practice areas. Examples of those, we call those practice areas guilds. Examples of those might be merchandise planning or SaaS-based product tools. Other examples are things like mobile, agile transformation, et cetera. So it gives you a little bit of example of our organization. And what we do is we partner long-term with our clients to help drive their business forward. Our delivery teams, which we call pods, work side by side with our client to do that successfully. Just a quick taste of a few examples of some of our clients, primarily in the retail space. And this covers kind of a broad swath of our clients across both the services and products side of our businesses that I mentioned. Certainly happy if you have questions or want to hear further about any of these client engagements and client stories, would be happy to follow up with folks separately after this conversation or after the webinar to do that. So with that, really what I want to do is turn it over to the topic at hand and the reason you all are here. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, who made his introduction earlier, to jump in and talk about the 6 secrets that he wants to share around seasonal planning. Jeff, go ahead.
Thank you, Brett. 15, even as recently as 10 years ago, it was much more precise for us to match demand back to the marketing source. We trusted source codes. We trusted magazine ads that our customers and our systems could collect and present to the enterprise reliable data regarding the source of demand. Individual marketing events were fewer and more predictable. Some would suggest that assortment planning and inventory management may have even been easier back then. Now, with so many marketing touches and ordering channels, it is very difficult to measure them individually. We have found that aggregating them into more manageable, larger, and fewer buckets may yield better results. This graphic is intended to reinforce that concept of a larger aggregated plan or seasonal plan. The front blue graph is an individual catalog, an individual marketing event, a marketing stimuli of some kind. The red graph is the same thing. Very, very similar assortment of products in a similar time bucket. We aggregate 2 or 3 or 8 of these individual events into a larger spanning aggregated plan over a period of time, in this case, weeks. This slide is intended to just reinforce that concept with a different visual. Individual events that we used to manage the assortment and the forecasts and the tracking and the planning and the reacting individually, we're now rolling them up into an aggregated plan. The second concept or secret is a departure from the first method and looking at the second method of seasonal planning, and that is one that is just a time period, a time chunk. And this is the methodology that Duluth has implemented. The larger season or aggregated demand is purely across a period of time. Every sale, every demand, every marketing stimuli is considered within that period of time across the entire assortment, and it's planned accordingly. One of the challenges with implementing seasonal planning is to indeed determine its ingredients. What marketing stimuli, which events, which ingredients in a period of time will I roll up into an aggregate? And as we are all mostly experiencing, the marketing touches are quite broad these days. And customers are very disinterested in telling us what they're responding to. And we have orders where they're responding to 3 different things. They get a catalog, that makes them go to the store. They see something else there and they buy what they saw in the catalog. You got the story. The list goes on. Let's just plan in an aggregate. And of course, we help you decide which of these best fit rolling into the season, or maybe manage a significant one individually is still acceptable. Point number 4, don't forget the math. Look real closely as you embark on assessing seasonal planning at your current metrics, the current data set that you use, or the current view of your data, and continuously reevaluate it. Take a step back. Are the metrics you're using viable in today's world? Are there additional metrics you should be using or considering in addition to yours? Pick 2 or 3 that work really well for your business. We've been embracing the average item index concept more recently, and that just gives you an average at the level you're viewing. It just helps really stabilize the assortment and rank it very well. This year to last year analysis is always practical when you're doing seasonal planning. We offer a statistical modeling. If you have a pretty stable assortment and a lot of data, then some statistical models work well. Really understanding your historical sales and which past history you choose to use are as relevant with seasonal planning as they've ever been. Make sure you understand any sales anomalies that may affect your history. And then on the topic of forecast accuracy, David Kersner with Frontgate spoke at a past Buyer Direct User Conference with a focus on how he analyzes forecast accuracy. And according to David, it is a very iterative process that includes that continuous tops-down, bottoms-up reconciliation, and certainly post-season accuracy analysis. The 6th topic or secret is to really just reinforce that concept of aggregated planning, which results in fewer events, which results in increased accuracy and less burden to your staff, as we'll hear from Ricci. And another visual on that topic is just to reinforce the concept of tops-down, bottoms-up methodology. This still exists in seasonal planning, and certainly our applications support it well. But have a real solid, frequently visited top sales plan that is distributed down to your varying levels. And those levels are largely defined by you. The categories or departments then break into subcategories and subdepartments, perhaps, taking you down to products and SKUs. What do I get out of seasonal planning? Every inventory manager has, his 4 or 5 main numbers that exist in every enterprise. We want to reduce stockouts. We want to have high fill rates. If we don't, we have reduced profitability and certainly unhappy customers. The flip side of that is always avoiding excess so that I don't have to have markdowns and eroded margin. The benefit to the company in having a dialed-in inventory position is always increased turns. That's what we're really seeking. And we feel strongly that an aggregated plan where you can spend more time focusing on rolled up aggregated numbers will get you there. Spend just a minute introducing the Softvision Buyer Direct product. It is an application with a suite of modules to support everything I've been discussing: assortment planning, demand planning or forecasting, which leads to an inventory modeling screen when we add other data elements like inventory position, on hand, on order, back order, and we phase that model out over time. And this results in your ability to issue POs or identify excess for liquidation quickly, identify return to vendor opportunities, etc. We feel that the system is efficient. According to Laura Barrett with Soft Surroundings, when they went live with Buyer Direct, they saw an immediate improvement to their back orders and fill rates. So that reinforces the prior slide, where inventory metric improvement is really the end goal for any inventory manager. I promise this is the only screenshot of the application, but this is the dashboard, we call it, where users enter the application. You'll see modules on the left-hand side that direct their workflow. depending upon where they are in the planning phase or the inventory management phase. And then there are dashboard elements on the right that can give them some quick views, quick hot list focuses, exception reporting, and other data points. A concept that we are proponents of at Softvision is to really spend your time and energy as a planning team on those 20% of the items that really drive your revenue and drive your profitability and drive your inventory turns. Let your planners spend their time here where the high volume, high complexity planning needs to occur. On the low volume items and the low complexity items, let automation kick in. Let the system take over and trust the results once you get it dialed in. Spend your time on the high volume, more complicated items that need more input from your planning staff. I'd like Ricci now to introduce herself again and her role at Duluth, and speak a little bit about where Duluth has been and where it's going. And then she and I will talk about Duluth's adoption of seasonal planning.
Okay. So I am Ricci. I've been with Duluth for 6 years, senior inventory manager. Duluth Trading, if you've probably seen our ads, most people have seen our ads. We are a solutions-based workwear brand. You probably have seen the buck naked or the ballroom jeans. Those tend to be the popular for men's. If you watch a lot of HGTV, you may have seen our women's No Yank tank ad as well. That one gets a lot of play. We are, as Brett commented, in a growth cycle. To give you some perspective, when I started 6 years ago, we all fit in one tiny building with a warehouse attached. We're now in 3 buildings. That's the kind of growth we've had. We had 1 store at that time. We now, this fall, will be at 25. That kind of growth obviously has spurred a lot of conversation about sustainability and what we need to do to move forward to support that growth, which is what led us to TimeBased.
Thank you, Ricci. I appreciate that. So within the past year, you've adopted time-based planning. So during Duluth's history, it was probably a shake on your system to consider doing this, being a prior catalog house with catalog view and catalog metrics. So share with us the challenges that existed that drove you there, and how you made the decision to go to time-based planning.
Sure. It's a conversation we've been having for since I walked through the door. I think we've been having it for a very long time. And it was a combination of our own growth within Duluth and then just the general evolution of retail in general. Everybody is becoming more and more omni as they go through. We're talking to customers in more ways than we've ever talked to them before. For Duluth, we do a catalog, we do the website, search, we have national advertising, digital advertising, postcards, we even have billboards. We're talking to the customers in many, many ways. And we were planning a lot of those ways individually prior, which was taking a lot of time, and we weren't necessarily being as accurate as we would like. And the thing is, regardless of the path the customer takes, and it may be a combination of things, they all land either on the website or in a store. So they're all ending up in the same spot. And what they buy based on that path is really, we found, not all that different. They still come and buy fire hose pants. They still come and buy a t-shirt with a pair of jeans, or slight differences, but not anything that was alarming or made us feel like we couldn't plan this all together. So really just wanted to focus on that end experience, making sure we had the sales forecasted correctly for that and the buys placed correctly for that, and let the marketing team worry about the marketing tools. So we felt strongly that we wanted to do that. And then about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, it became critical that we do that because of our store growth. Those 25 stores that we will have this fall, the bulk of them opened in the last 2 years. And we were at the time planning each store individually. And so as you can imagine, every store we opened meant, it just meant one more offer to plan, and it was getting to be cumbersome, and it was going to be too much to manage. So that is when we made the call that it was time to make the switch to time-based.
Excellent. I appreciate that reflection. So now that you've told us, why you did it, can you share with us how you did it? What were some of the steps you took to get there and get the systems and the people surrounding the systems focused and moving forward?
Sure. It actually it was very quick and much easier than I anticipated. So what we ended up doing was instead of planning catalogs in stores, we created monthly offers for direct that combined all the direct sales, and we created monthly offers for retail that combined all the stores. So instead of planning 25 individual stores, I'm planning 25 stores each month collectively. Really, it doesn't really matter the path they took. It doesn't matter what code they used or how they got there. All I really care about is the day that I took the sale and in what channel I took the sale. And that's really what is in those offers. To do it, it was a lot of help from Linda and some other people with Softvision, but we created a post all offer that put all demand went to the post all offer. So all the retail post all and then all the direct post all. And then those sales then behind the scenes will then end up in our monthly offers. At that point, then we went back. Once that was all done, it took about a day and a half. It was about all the longer it took. We did go back and restate the history. We did this in August of 2016. So we restated all of 2015 and year-to-date 16. And then we reforecasted the go forward months. It was that quick.
That's interesting with your growth, that you're finding 1 year of history is adequate to look forward. And how relevant is 3-year-old history at this point, right?
Not at all.
Right.
Particularly in retail. Yeah. The thing we found with retail that was great too was, in individual stores, the history is very spotty. They may not sell a size or a color or whatever. When you put it all together, it actually means something, and it became much more valuable to us.
And that reinforces the concept of, an aggregated plan.
Yes.
Little pieces of data we spend too much time on at times.
Yes.
Would you do it again? What were some of the wins and victories associated with this decision?
We would absolutely, honestly, the only thing we would change is we should have done it probably a year earlier, year and a half earlier. It's been huge. So when we did this, we made the decision that we would use this year, last year as the primary metric. And for retail, because we grouped those stores together, we did an average per store. So we just took the demand from, for instance, February of 16, divided it by the store count at that time, adjusted up or down TYLY as we needed to, and then multiplied it by the store count of the future month. So by using that TYLY, that was the first big win. It gave us a lot more control. We're trying to roll up to this year, last year guidance, and that was very hard to do when you're planning a catalog at an index. You would have to do all the forecasting, see where you rolled up, and then go back and make adjustments. When you're planning TYLY, you're planning the same metric that you're trying to hit. It made a huge difference for us. So the planning team is pretty excited about that part. We actually had some.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was great. I actually had some people here recently from Softvision who asked me about this, and what I told them was that we made the switch to time-based, and the sun came out, and the choir started to sing, and I was promising statues of some of these people to be built out front of the building. We were so excited. It completely changed the game. It was, from an efficiency perspective, we went from 20 to 30 offers in a season for direct to 6. For retail, we went to what would have been 25 plus offers to 6. And regardless of how many more stores we add, or catalogs we add, or marketing vehicles we add, they're going to stay at just those monthly offers. I will still have 6 retail, and I will still have 6 direct. And from an efficiency perspective, that was huge. We were at the point where we were going to have to add headcount, and we didn't have to do that then for this. We were able to add headcount to other areas of the business that needed it. So that was huge. And then the accuracy improved significantly. In direct, it was just not planning so many offers. And, as customers switch between marketing vehicles, which they do all the time, you're not having to chase that. You just have that end result. So we're more accurate there. And then in retail, it was hugely beneficial from an accuracy standpoint. When we were using seasonal offers, projections really weren't viable. So we were able to start using projections, and it gave much more meaningful history that we were able to use when planning like stores or planning future stores. So it's been absolutely huge for us. And I think the thing from a business perspective that really has been beneficial is it's much, much easier to see trends and trend changes in your business at that higher level. And so we've been able to have quicker reactions, identify those, and react quicker. It's very difficult when you've got your sales for a month, for instance, it's coming from 2 catalogs and an email and a whatever, it's very hard to see that so clearly. But when you're looking at straight months and you're looking at that last 3 to 6 month trend, it becomes very obvious when something starts shifting gears or starts behaving differently.
That's great. It also sounds like that you've created a scenario where you can keep rolling stores and manage them and not be intimidated by the plans of rolling out your stores. What's your anticipated store rollout? Can you share that with us?
A bazillion. I have no idea. It's a lot.
A lot of zeros.
Share it with you. I will say it's going to continue to grow, and that was the thing. Is there was no end in sight, at least that I could see.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so we definitely had to come up with something that was more manageable. The thing that's been really great about it too is what we're doing in most cases, you just assume that the marketing strategy is going to be the same year over year. And so you plan off that 3 to 6 month trend, and most of the products, they just chug along and you do your thing. Where we really spend our time are those products where we know we're going to do something different marketing wise. We're going to give it a cover where we didn't before, or we're going to advertise it now where we didn't before. Whatever we're going to put it on a wall in a store. Those sorts of the things. Those are the products where we really spend our time, or products that have a rapidly changing trend. It goes back to that, seeing the trend changes quicker. Those are the places where we really spend our time. The bulk of the products just kind of chug along and do their thing, and you just plan them according to that trend, and they flow, and it's much simpler. And I call it majoring in the minors. We're not majoring in the minors, we're majoring in the majors.
Excellent. I imagine a lot of the reacting is on new items also that you are trying to get new sales reads on, just like we've always done. Yeah. Yes,
that's true.
Ricci, I can't thank you enough for being willing to share your experiences with us, and to those listening that are on the Buyer Direct product. Ricci has said that she's willing to speak one-on-one with you. So coordinate that with myself, Linda, Stuart, Janine, if you're interested in hearing a little more deeply of Ricci's experience and how it might apply to your organization. Brett, I want to turn it back over to you now.
Absolutely. So I'd love to. So first of all, thanks you all for the conversation. It's kind of fun to hear Duluth's path as they've grown dramatically and been able to support that effectively and successfully. I have a few questions here, so I encourage the audience, if you have other questions based on the conversation, to put it into the little Q&A tool in the Zoom interface. I'll just go ahead and read these questions out loud and direct them, Jeff, to you and Ricci. The first one, Jeff, is for you. A question regarding the tops-down, bottoms-up planning. Review those concepts briefly again and just kind of make sure the audience, kind of understood the core learning that you were trying to point them towards.
Sure, Brett. I won't go back to the slide, but it really is the concept of hierarchical reconciliation. You've got a top-level plan for the season. We agree between merchandising, inventory planning, finance, marketing that we're going to do $10 million. That number is handed to each department to then manage and distribute proportionally as they see fit. Your merchandisers and inventory planners are going to start at the bottom. They're going to take their most popular fire hose jeans and predict how many dollars they're going to do in that era and in what color and sizes. That's down to the SKU level. And that's going to come up to a number. Then they're going to plan the rest of the items in that sub-department. And that grows to a sub-department number. And then the other planners and other sub-departments are doing their work, and those all roll into the department number. And then all the other teams are doing their departments, and that rolls into a total. How close is it to $10 million? And what's causing the discrepancies? And that continuous iterative evaluation, as David with Frontgate mentioned, is part of forecast accuracy and planning accuracy. I see the next question from Rick Miller with Frontgate. Do you still manage or report on catalog page and space productivity? Do you utilize curves by total season or by any offer or store cluster breakdown? Do you have any comments on that, Ricci?
Yeah, we've done a couple of things. The offers that I talked about that were monthly, those are forecasting offers only. We also still set up catalog offers, and we still set up floor set offers. those are merchandising offers only. They don't flow. Actually, as an inventory manager, I hide them. I don't want to see them. But they are there for the merchants to merchandise. They are there for the retail team to derive pick lists from. And they still use those, and that is where actuals actually flow into the catalog. So we are still able, the merchants who manage that are, they will also then go in and look at those actuals, and they'll make the decisions around, was it productive enough, was it not, and they'll have those sorts of conversations. We didn't walk away from treating catalogs seriously. We put a lot of time into our catalogs. We just walked away from giving them an individual forecast is what we really walked away from, but they still exist out there for the merchants to still work with.
Excellent, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I see some questions from Monica Garami with Blair. What channels bring most of the sales? In the catalogs, how many items per catalog per season? Basically SKU count, product count, if that's something you can share. Any elaboration on this?
I lost that. Okay. You know what, on the channel thing, it's as we add stores, it's continuing to shift. I don't think I'm allowed to tell you, to be honest. But
sure.
As we add stores, it certainly shifts. That's the other benefit of time-based, is that as things do shift, it's much easier to manage. And in the catalogs, how many items per catalog per season? That varies on the size of the catalog. We could put you on the mailing list and actually send some if you want to check them out. It depends. Some of the catalogs are very small. Some of them are 3 times as big as our small guy. We aren't a hugely densely merchandise catalog from others that I've seen, but we definitely have 5, 6 products potentially on a page, sometimes 1 or 2 on a page, depending on the sales behind that. The catalogs per season is insane. It's a lot. It's 20 to 30 if you add men's and women's together. And then versions of the catalog, we have what we call the ones that we send to our mailing list, the main, and then we have our prospecting. So some catalogs have 2 versions, not all of them. They're not identical though. They may share some themes or some commonalities, but they're different from there.
Excellent. I appreciate you sharing that. I see one more question, and then we'll open it up for any more that might come up.
I see 2.
Go ahead. Okay.
There's 2 on here. One of them is for me. I have a question about the statement you made regarding staffing.
Yep.
Yeah, so at the time that we did this, we were at the point where if we hadn't done this, we would have had to have added people specifically to help us continue to forecast. And we didn't add there. We do continue to add headcount all over the place because of the growth, but it allowed us to, we were systematically made some changes so that we could add the headcount in places that were more value added. But as far as people doing the forecasting and the managing of categories, we didn't have to hire headcount for quite a while because of it. And then another question I saw for me was, how does Duluth manage time-based when their catalog presentation changes from prior year? For example, it moved on me. What was it? It goes from a full page to a 3rd page and is in fewer catalogs. For the most part, and those are the exceptions that we manage. We don't manage to that level though. For the most part, we found that if something is on a 1/3 of a page or a whole page, the performance isn't that different. It's still, because most of these customers are still driving to the web and making their purchase there, and then being exposed to the whole host of products and whatever that experience is we have on the web. So those minor changes we don't worry about. They really don't make much of a difference at all in our world. They really don't. The ones that we focus on is something was not in a catalog and it is potentially, or the big ones are focuses of books and back covers. Those are really where we make the big difference. And if a product skips a book here or there, we're cognizant of that as a merchandising team, and so they may get an extra email, or we may do other things to expose those products to still get that TYLY sales goal that we're aiming for.
Excellent, excellent. I imagine that we have a couple attendees who are hearing your de-emphasis on space and are cringing a little bit, but that's a movement we see more and more.
Yeah, it's not that different. Oh, there's another question here too. It says, are you using auto project for your seasonal planning? And if so, what % complete do you kick it off? We do it at a monthly level, yes. It's pretty high though. When we get to be about 85% typically is when we'll start taking projections. That actual projection though during the month is incredibly valuable to us, particularly in retail, because we're adding stores all over the place. There's a lot of volatility. It's sometimes a bit cumbersome and a bit difficult to sort of wrangle. So those projections are hugely valuable to us.
And that's a common topic of conversation amongst our installed base, and that is, which projection method do I use? When do I kick it off? When do I automate it or not? What do I do with the data? And that's a lot of that's maturity and making sure you understand the data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody else asked a question about, do you switch out feature colors for a specific item between each catalog mailing? And yeah, we do. Our creative team would love to just come up with a pretty picture and leave it forever. But our guy, he definitely, I call him a sheep. I love him to death, but he definitely follows the feature color. So we try to switch those out. We do it, again, it's based on more an inventory position. As we work through the season, if we're starting to run, if something is selling better than we expected and we're starting to run out, we'll shift the feature color. Or we'll do it the other direction. If a color isn't going very well and I'm going to have overstock at the end of the season, I will feature it. We'll move it as the feature spot on the web, or we'll put it in a couple of books as the feature color. And when he sees it, he goes there. So we do consistently and constantly manage feature colors and try to use it as a way to either drive sales or manage inventory.
Excellent.
And Ricci and Jeff, a question came through in the chat window that you may not be able to see from Linda Zamansky. It's directed towards Ricci. When a catalog spans multiple time periods or offers, how do you decide where to forecast the sales? Or do you not care about this for direct any longer? We
don't care. What I care is when the sale happens. So if I have a catalog skipping months, it's basically about a 3-week lifespan or so. If that covers the months, if the sale happened in February, that's what I plan, and that's where my history is. If it came in March, it doesn't really matter to me anymore. I mean, it's not uncommon for us to have 3 or 4 catalogs active for a single product at any given time. So no, just
and all overlapping, right?
Yeah. So yeah, completely. So that's part of it. Goes back to that control and being able to hit that guidance number better. So when you're planning a catalog using an index, and heavens knows what month it's going to end up in, that's where it gets really complicated and unnecessarily complicated. And you end up with either the same result or a result that's not as good from a forecasting perspective. So why do it? That's what we found. So
great.
Yep.
Well, listen, I think we've exhausted the questions, which were great and interactive from the audience. We appreciate your time to input those. Jeff, any other kind of final comments, and then I'll close things out.
No, I just want to thank Ricci once again for participating and being willing to further discuss this with anyone. So again, if you want to dig deeper, with Ricci and us, reach out to Linda, Janine, Stewart, or I, and we'll coordinate that time to pick back up with Ricci.
Absolutely. And Ricci, we really appreciate you jumping in and being involved. It's fun to kind of hear the story of your success as you guys have supported the growth of the company. And I'll reiterate what Jeff said. There's contact information here on this final slide. Feel free to reach out to either of those. We're happy to have a broader conversation, both whether it's specific to the topic or more broadly about your business and what you're trying to do. And like I said, expect to see this week. We will follow up with an email. We'll post this webinar and video so that you guys can share it internally with your organizations. And we're so glad to have you be involved and be part of the webinar today. Thanks and have a great afternoon.